Today we're in Luke chapter 15. This is perhaps the best known chapter in Luke, perhaps one of the best known chapters in the entire New Testament. And the three parables that we have here, the parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son, are three that are taught and preached about probably as much or more than any of the other parables in the New Testament. And there's an important reason why. Now, first of all, we must get the context here. There have been many times when these parables have been misused to try to get a point across that's not really valid. It is clear here that these parables are in response to the fact that there are outcasts, there are sinners, there are tax gatherers, there are prostitutes, there are those who have been disregarded by society and especially by the Jewish faith who are following Jesus. And there is some protest about that in these first couple of verses of Luke chapter 15 by the religious leaders. And they say, look, even the sinners, even the tax gatherers, even the prostitutes, even the lowlifes, the bottom of the barrel, follow this man and he even eats with them. He associates with them. And Jesus immediately tells this parable of the lost sheep, and then the parable of the lost coin, and then the parable of the lost son, to illustrate not that we ought to go running after church members who are disgruntled, or people who get their feelings hurt, or people who just want to be patted on the back, or consoled in some way and told how great they are. Now, that's not who Jesus is talking about here. Jesus is talking about the value not of those disgruntled church members, but he's talking about the value of sinners, the value of the lost. And that's very clear in the context of this chapter. So, what Jesus is saying is here's a man who owns sheep. Sheep are precious, they have value, and a good shepherd cares for his sheep and loves his sheep. And he's saying, I love those who are sheep who are not yet embraced in the fold. They haven't been taken into the family of God. They are still rebelling. They're still going their own way. They've left the intentions and the purpose for which God created them, and they're out on their own. And I will go and leave those who have come to me, those who are part of the family. I'll go and search out and seek out those who are still out there waiting to be rescued. That's what Jesus is saying. And then he says, there's a woman who has a coin. There are lots of interpretations of this, but many think that these 10 coins represented perhaps the dowry of this woman's marriage and wedding. And to lose a tenth of that, to lose 1/10 of what she was given as a wedding gift, would be very emotionally difficult for her to go through. There's great value in that tenth. The value is not so much in the monetary value, but the value is in the meaning of what that coin represents. And so Jesus says, these sinners, these prostitutes, these tax gatherers, these folks who you have completely written off are valuable to me, just like a woman's dowry would be. There is an emotional attachment to those who are lost and not yet a part of the family of God. And then this story of the lost son. He's given an opportunity to enjoy all that the father has, but instead he goes off on his own and lives his own life and does his own thing and behaves in the way that he wants to, and finds that that really doesn't lead anywhere but to the pig pen of life. And Jesus says, the Father, representing the Heavenly Father, loves this young man so much, even though he has squandered all that was put at his disposal, but the Father still loves him. The Father still extends an invitation to him. So, what's the meaning of these three? Well, the meaning of these three parables is this: that whether a person is represented by that lost sheep that's followed the greener grass their own way, that lost coin who's misplaced but of great value, that son who's chosen instead of being part of the family of faith to be a part of the family of rebellion and going their own way, regardless of what a person is, regardless of how sinful they are, regardless of how looked down upon they may be, Jesus still loves them. Jesus still goes after them. And Jesus wants us to see those folks the way he does, with great value and with great concern for their eternity.